What is going on, beautiful people? I hope you are having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons of Arvada, Colorado. And hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you're looking to learn a little bit more about Denver, some of the surrounding suburbs like Arvada, then make sure and hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell icon for notifications, and then you can be the first to know about any videos that kind of come out. That way you can keep up to date with what's going on in the Denver market. If you don't already know, my name is Michael and I get people reaching out all the time looking to make a move to Denver or some of the surrounding areas, and they're just looking for a little bit of help, maybe a little guidance, have some questions for me. So if that might be you, feel free to contact me. My information is below. Text, phone, email, whatever you prefer. Here to help. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So if you've never heard of Arvada or you're not too familiar with it, it's kind of the northwest spot of Denver. It's got about a population of 125,000 people, but it's spread across about 40 square miles. So it's not too dense of people, but it's a nice spread out area. It even kind of goes into the mountains a little bit. And it's really just this commuter town that kind of is in between Denver and Boulder. You know, a lot of people working in both areas that are commuting, and they just kind of live just because it's a nice area, pretty affordable, and you kind of go both sides. So if you're working in both areas, it's not a bad spot to post up. So there are plenty of pros to living in Arvada. The main one being that it's really affordable compared to some of the other areas throughout Denver. Median single family home goes for about $640,000, and you know, you're going to be able to find things in the 500s all the way up to the 900s, and there are gonna be some ones outside of that as well. But for the most part, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more affordable compared to the rest of the Denver area, this might be a good spot to take a look at, especially with a lot of the other things that it has to offer. Makes it a pretty good deal. The next good thing about Arvada is if you are working in Denver or Boulder, kind of like I mentioned earlier, you know, if you're commuting one way or the other, it's a really nice spot to kind of post up, especially to be kind of an affordable area. Especially if you look at Boulder home prices or just the cost of living up there, you're gonna think, maybe not. So Arvada is a good spot. You're not too far from Boulder, so you're not gonna have a very long commute, and you can kind of get outside of the Boulder area, outside of the Denver area. Nice middle ground and easy to kind of access both of them. Now I will say, if you're trying to commute pretty much anywhere else in the Denver area, might be a little more difficult unless it's one of the surrounding areas. But for the most part, that's usually where people are going to be going back and forth to. So that's one of the spots you're going to. Makes a great place for it. Another great thing about Arvada is it's just beautiful. You know, you're right off the mountains, and you know, you can even be really close to the mountains in some areas. So you kind of have that Colorado feel. You see that, I mean, that's what people usually come to Colorado for, or at least that's on their mind when they're telling people, oh, I'm moving to Colorado. Everyone's thinking right off the mountains, there's pine trees everywhere. Might not quite be what Arvada is, but you have a lot of that scenery there. It's not so packed and dense like some of the other areas in Denver. It's a little open, and you just have a lot of that outdoor feel that gives it that Colorado beauty that a lot of people think of when they think of Colorado. The next thing I'll talk about is that you are close to the mountains, kind of like I just said. So if you are planning on going hiking, fishing, anything in the mountains, snowboarding, skiing, whatever, you know, is on your heart, you can go do it. It's not too hard to get to the mountains, especially if you're, you know, it's at the end of the long week and you're just like, all right, let's just pack up and go. You don't have to hop on the road, head up to the mountains, and you're right there. Especially during the summer, if you're just kind of going up for a quick hike, or you're just looking for something quick, something maybe an afternoon hike. You know, you're not too far where it makes it super inconvenient to go do. It's right there, so you're not really demotivated by a long drive out to the mountains. On top of that, if you're just trying to stay somewhere local, maybe the mountains are even still a little too far, you're looking for something outdoors, but you don't really want to go anywhere. There's lots of parks throughout Arvada. You have plenty to choose from. You're just south of Stanley Lake, and there's hiking, there's trails, you know, lots of fishing, lots of outdoor activities that you can do there. So, you know, you can spend a whole day up there. And then just north of that is this massive open space dog park. Technically it's in Westminster, but you know, anybody can go. I've been there plenty of times with my dog, and it's, you know, you can spend 2 hours there walking in a big circle, and you don't have to walk in the same trails. Plenty of space and a lot of other dogs to kind of tire your dog out for you, so you don't have to do it yourself, and just enjoy some of the outdoors. Kind of get away from the city a little bit, get some fresh air, and just enjoy yourself a little bit. Last great thing I'll say about Arvada is it just has a little bit different feel from the rest of the Denver area. You know, it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more historic, small town feel. Depending on where you're from, maybe you might think, okay, small town. But if you're comparing it to Denver, Colorado, some of the inner parts of the Denver area, then you know, you're gonna get out there and be like, well, this is kind of cool. Lots of dining options, plenty of shopping. So, you know, you can kind of go throughout, find a nice quiet place to eat, plenty of options for you. So you're not gonna get bored of eating. You know, you can go around, you can find dozens of restaurants, so you never have to do the same thing twice if you don't want to. And you know, if you do, I mean, you're talking about a couple times a year, but you always have the option to go find something else. All right, now for the cons. And I'm gonna be honest, I had to dig a little deep for this. I'm not necessarily trying to say there's nothing wrong with Arvada, but there's not a whole lot of things wrong with it. There's not a whole lot of things that I look at and I'm just like, oh, you know, Arvada, But I'll go over what I kind of came up with. And you know, if you're in Arvada, you know about Arvada, and there's something else that I missed, let me know about it. All right, the first thing is traffic can be a little bit hectic, especially since you're kind of right in between Boulder and Denver. So people kind of going to and from work. A lot of people are kind of going in and out of Arvada. So, you know, just hopping on the road, getting up there. So during those kind of peak hours of commuting, you're gonna have a lot of traffic going there. So you're gonna have noise pollution, air quality is gonna go down a little bit. Overall, not really the worst thing. I mean, you're gonna pretty much see that pretty much anywhere in Denver, but because you're right in between those two areas, you're probably gonna see a lot of cross traffic going both ways at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. The next thing is, if you are wanting to go to a lot of the other parts of Denver, you're kind of far from it. Unless you're going to some of the surrounding suburbs of Arvada, you know, you're really far from Aurora, you're really far from like the south side of Denver. And yes, you can just jump on I-25 and get down there, but you know, you're pretty much on one end of the city, so you're kind of sectioned off in that one spot. So trying to get anywhere else is a little bit more difficult. Again, not the end of the world, but something to consider if maybe you have friends kind of scattered all throughout. You're gonna be traveling a lot. Maybe it's something you try and get something a little bit more central, but again, probably not a huge setback for a lot of people. And the last thing I'll talk about is just the limited nightlife that they have in Arvada. It's not as high paced as some of the other areas in Denver. You know, you don't have Red Rocks, you're not downtown Denver where there's things going on all the time. It's gonna be a little bit slower, so if you're looking for some of that fast paced lifestyle, maybe Arvada might not be the place for you. Or if you're someone who's just a casual, fast paced lifestyle, you go there and maybe you drive to downtown Denver once, twice a month, get your fill, and then kind of move on, go back, wait another month till you get your energy back. But for the most part, you're not gonna find a whole lot of stuff to do at night in Arvada. So there's definitely pros and cons to living anywhere, especially Arvada. Although I will say there's not a whole lot of drawbacks compared to some of the other areas. But for the most part, I'd say it's a really affordable area. If it's something that interests you, take a look at it, just kind of do a little Google search, see what's there, see if you like it. Not a bad place to kind of set up and, you know, explore when you're first coming to Denver. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this quick video. Maybe you found it helpful, maybe helped you think about certain things that you weren't thinking about earlier. And if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Would really appreciate it. Oh, and don't forget, if you are planning on moving out here, want some help, maybe you have some questions, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is below. More than happy to help in whatever way I can. But until next time, I will see you guys later.